Hello and welcome. This is Wendy with Love and Stampin'. I am excited that you're here with me today. Here I'm just starting to sketch out my card design, and I thought that I would just record it and show you guys I just sit at my desk and I think up designs or things I want to do, and I work on sketching them out. And I use the Stampin' Up! Grid paper for that a lot of the time. Sometimes I have a notebook I sketch in, but honestly, I grab the grid paper that's near me and I go for it and come up with my idea. This card is a little different than my normal cards because I drew the whole scene behind the stamped little girl that you're going to see here in a little bit. And we're using this gorgeous stamp set. It really reminded me of a throwback to the Greeting Card Kids stamp set, and I actually still have that stamp set. So here in a little bit, you'll see, I'll show it to you. Before we get going, I wanted to tell you that I do have a host code right now. A host code is just when you place an order with me, it's going to ask you if you want to enter a host code. If you do enter the host code, you get free gifts from me. And if you want to get this stamp set, Seasons of Fun, for free, you would have to place a qualifying order. So this is a host stamp set. You actually cannot get this stamp set for any other way. You can't buy it. You have to actually purchase, I think it's a $150 order, and then you could add this to your Stampin' Rewards. It's such a cute stamp set, and it will go great, obviously, for all kinds of seasons in your crafting. If a $150 order sounds just, outrageous to you, and you're like, there's no way I'm placing an order that size to get a stamp set, I understand, but there is no way to purchase this one. Here is the old Greeting Cards Kids stamp set, and you can see here where it kind of mimics that same feel. I just love it. Anyway, we're going to use the little pumpkin girl, as you saw, and I am going to stamp her, and then we're going to draw a scene. And you might think that this is like difficult when you're watching me do it, like, oh, I could never do that. I know that's what I think when I watch people like Kelly Taylor or Sandy Allnock, who, by the way, is the place that I learned how to do these types of things. Practice, practice, practice. And mine are not perfect. There's lots of room for improvement with all of my scene cards for sure, but you can only get better at it by practicing and trying. If you don't practice and try, then you're never going to be able to do it, right? So I kind of liken it to riding a bicycle. When you first start riding a bicycle, you have to have training wheels. And then when you get the training wheels off, you fall a few times. It's the same with stamping, especially when you're doing scenes or one layer type cards where you're adding your own scenery. So here I've die cut a circle out of a scrap piece of cardstock, and I'm taking a Copic multi-liner and I'm drawing a circle in, and this is going to be my moon. I will link to the Copic multi-liners below the video. They are sold on Amazon. The reason you need to use a Copic safe ink is because you're going to use Stampin' Blends, which is an alcohol-based ink. So you don't want to use a water-based marker for this. You want to use something that will be alcohol safe, or pen, I guess I should say. Marker isn't really the right descriptor. So here I'm just going over and kind of really lightly drawing in the lines of where I think I want my road to be. Now remember, I said mistakes. So I'm going to point out some of my mistakes to you so that hopefully you'll learn from them. And we are going to have a little story time today. So rest assured about that. So one of my first mistakes is that she's wearing roller skates, but the way I colored the ground was like dirt. Yeah, roller skates don't work great in the dirt. However, in my defense, I grew up in the country. And FYI, here I'm going to erase those pencil lines so they don't get trapped and under my alcohol marker coloring when I do that here in a little bit. I don't want those lines to show through. So I'm erasing them to the point that I can still see them. You can't see them on the video, but I can see them. And then I'm just going to trace over the top of them. So, yeah, I grew up in the country, and honestly, I used roller skates in gravel and in dirt on a regular basis. Like, that was not a foreign thing for me. And I know that probably sounds crazy or funny, like, how could you even roller skate? But I'm telling you, people, you can. We had one slab of concrete at my grandparents' house that we would basically roller skate in circles. I had roller blades, you know, the inline skates. I thought I was super cool. And we would basically skate in circles around that. And then the rest of the time, we would skate in the dirt or the gravel. Okay, here I am using dark Night of Navy to color my sky. Now you might be thinking, oh my gosh, she's coloring an entire background with this marker. And you might see that there are like marker marks, right? Like where it's, you know, overlapping and it's not really smooth. If you want it to be really smooth, if that bothers you, then I recommend going over it again. The more times you go over it, the more this paper will become saturated, and it will eventually basically turn into like a nice soft background. I, however, have other plans that I'm going to be doing. And so because of that, you'll see it won't matter. So as I'm coloring her, I want her to look backlit. What does backlit mean? That means the light is coming from behind her. So I colored her in pumpkin pie light, and then I went over her in pumpkin pie dark, but only up to a certain point. And you can see here I'm doing the same with my markers, or with her hair. I colored her hair black, or I colored the base of her hair gray, and then I colored her hair black, and you can see I left a little bit of the gray. Same with the ground. I'm leaving a little bit of the ground lighter. And that is because I want to give the illusion that the light is hitting and lighting up behind her. So I learned this from Sandy Allnock. I've practiced it a few different times. I don't feel like my coloring turned out perfect here by any means, but I definitely felt happy with it. Does that make sense? Like, is it perfect? Is it Sandy Allnock level? No. Is it Wendy level and still perfect for me? Yes. Like, I was very happy with how everything turned out. So here you see I'm starting to add in trees. I'm using my black marker and I'm just going right over the top of that background and adding trees. And I'm not worrying about them being perfect. Again, I'm just scribbling little lines and adding trees in as much as I can. And that kind of disguises, I guess, if you will, or masks that, that uneven marker look in the background. And it kind of, I kind of liked the uneven marker look because I feel like it gave the background even a more little like cloudy, spooky look versus it just being this perfectly flat blue color. So as I continue to add in my trees, I thought I would just share a couple of things. First, I can't even tell you all enough how thankful I am for everybody who commented on my color splash video from last week. I really shared some vulnerabilities in that video, talking about like some changes I'm making, and you're all so amazing and supportive and kind and loving, and I just cannot tell you enough how special that is to me and how much it means to me. So thank you for that. Also, let's see. A few weeks ago, which I haven't shared yet in a video, but a few weeks ago, I got really sick. I was like, I didn't have COVID. I took a COVID test, but I had like a stomach virus and it took me out. So if you were like, where has this woman been? What's been going on? That's what was going on at the time. And that was 3 weeks ago now, I think. When you're watching this video, it will have been 3 weeks ago. So anyway, all of that is to say that I have so appreciated everybody hanging with me. I also want to mention, while I'm continuing to make my trees here, and these trees are looking a little too much the same, so I do go back in and fix that. But you can see here I'm struggling a little bit. Should I put another tree here? Should I not? I couldn't decide, so I left it because I was scared. So I just was like, no, don't do it. So anyway, I do want to mention, I mentioned at the beginning, I do have a host code open right now through September 26th, where you can get the 6x6 sampler of the Peaceful Prints Designer Series paper, which is a free celebration item, and the Bee Dazzling, a little sampler of the Bee Dazzling paper as well, which is gorgeous. And both of those are free when you place an order with me. They are celebration items. So the cool thing about that is if you place your order and you don't have a celebration item that you want, you can pick that, and then you're still going to get those other papers from me. There's a link below the video to shop with me. And if you see any supplies that I use today that you have to have, by all means, you can purchase them in my online store. Also, it's super helpful to me when you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like my video, give it a thumbs up. If you subscribe, that's also really helpful. So I thought I would just mention those two things. I'm really bad about not mentioning those things. So I've thought I need to get better about that because, you know, if I don't say it, then what can I expect? People might not do it, right? So here I finally decided, okay, I needed a tree. I needed a couple of trees that were taller. I needed them to have more wispies, and I wanted them to come over into the moon. So I took a leap of faith here and branched off some of my little branches and went right on into the moon with them. And I think they actually turned out really cute, and it looks really good. But again, this is what I'm talking about. This kind of stuff is just trial and error. Knowing when to stop and when to add more, I find, is the biggest struggle with stuff like this. Like, do I keep going? Do I leave it alone? Have I done too much? You know, that kind of thing. So eventually I decided here to just do a few little branches into the moon, and then I call it quits. And you can see by doing some shorter trees, they kind of look like they're going into the background, which is perfect. And it really worked out great. I'm really happy with how this card turned out. Then at the bottom, I felt like, I really apologize for being off camera a little bit there. At the bottom, I felt like it kind of looked like the trees were not anchored. So I went through and just kind of drew a line with my Copic marker, good Lord, my Stampin' Blends marker to create that dark forest kind of thing. So this little girl is creepily roller skating in the dirt in a dark forest by herself trick-or-treating. This may be the creepiest card I've ever made in my life. And the sentiment is so cute. Have a fabulous Halloween. And so I'm going to send this card to my little nieces in Montana because I think that they will really, really enjoy it. So quick, fast story time. In addition to my other stories I told earlier, trick-or-treating when I was a kid was interesting. We lived very rural. We still live rural. So we didn't have, like, you know, where you go trick-or-treating in a neighborhood. We have one little neighborhood in the town I live in where there's like houses next to each other. And so everybody would hit those houses up. And there was this lady that lived at the end of the street. She doesn't live there anymore, but she lived at the end of one of the streets in this neighborhood. And you always knew you were getting close to her house because it smelled so bad. The woman had cats among cats among cats piled up in her house. And it was gross. Like, you could smell her house from outside of the house. You weren't even close to the house. You could be about 2 houses down from her and smell the house. Not good, people. It's not good. So anyway, that was one of my memories from trick-or-treating. And of course, there was always the houses that were super scary. They were decorated really scary, and I would never go up to them. I'm like, I don't need a candy bar that bad. I don't like people jumping out at me. I don't like haunted houses. I don't like any of that kind of thing. And here, by the way, I'm just using my white gel pen to add some stars in the sky. And again, that just kind of distracts from that uneven blue background that we started out with. I really, really, really want to encourage you to try this technique. Try it out. Grab a stamp set and create a background and try it, because you'll never know if it's something you love doing if you don't try it. And I love it. It's so fun. So you should try it too. And if you do try it, either email me a picture of the card that you do, or post it online somewhere and tag me so that I can see it, because I know you're capable. Like, this is the kind of card where you look at it and you're like, I could never do that, but you absolutely can. You just saw how simple it was. I just did a little bit of fun coloring. That was it. All right, this is the finished card. I love it. It's spooky and exactly what I was going for. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products, you can shop with me at shoploveandstampin.com. All the products I used today are listed below the video. And I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. Thanks so much for tuning in.